New Zealand, Luke Dobbin. From Japan, Kento Shira. From Australia, Christopher Renfrew. From Hong Kong, Qi Han Yi. From Turkey, Ahmed Önder. And from Turkey, Fahad Abishan. And on the women's team, representing Malaysia, Tan Yi. From New Zealand, Estella Anderson. From Australia, Henry Little. From the Republic of China, Yu Ting. From New Zealand, Isabella Brett. From Malaysia, Tracy Yang. From the Netherlands, Sana Pfeffer. From Australia, Emmanuel. And from the Republic of China, Luo Huang. Seems to represent the competition. We hope it goes well for you. Please begin the warm-up.
I can hear their microphone out there. Now I've got it.
I can hear you now. It's good.
Yep. Got it now.
Men's vault. So whenever you wanted to talk to them.
Yep. Yeah. I just asked them when we're on because
Phone is being live all the time.
Okay, so she's.
Is it divided?
I'm just confirming.
Because it's 8 people.
We were told yesterday it just split, but now they're saying maybe not.
So Dave, I suppose they'll let you know when they're going to open it up, and we'll.
So Sharon, tomorrow this is what we would be seeing before.
And
Have this much fill.
for the men, we have high bar. So get excited for a great performance here this evening, and make sure you get behind all the gymnasts, giving them a big cheer and all their apparatus. Everyone enjoy your evening, and there's going to be some spectacular gymnastics here this evening.
Minute Russo there with the three-time Olympic gold medalist and ambassador Ali Raceman. Sounds fantastic to see Ali here, and it's always a challenge the year after Olympics. You don't want to actually get on the apparatus, but it's tough to get yourself away from the gym floor. So perfect way to do it by being an ambassador for the World Cup.
Absolutely, it is, Dave. It's one of those things you never fall out of love with the sport, but sometimes, especially after a big campaign like an Olympics, you do need a break. But talking to Ali yesterday, she said even being around just the gym and that environment, she was getting nervous for all the other girls competing and watching and loving it. So it's great to have a superstar like her in the stands, and we've got all the superstars out on the floor doing 3 apparatus for the men and 2 for the women again this afternoon.
So warm-up continuing. Men's vault, women's beam, the first 2 qualifyings that we'll see. Top 8 going through. Some events, some of the fields here, just the 8 competitors, or some even less for this opening of the World Cup circuit for 2017. So all going through. So I guess it's an opportunity without the pressure of having to be in the top 8, Sam, that you can put down a routine, maybe try something just to get the feel of this opening competition of 2017.
Absolutely. There's always a lot of adjusting in terms of different equipment. Athletes getting used to different types of equipment and all of those types of things, and even just the same brands of equipment in different venues. So it's a perfect opportunity for them to get a dry run, so to speak, have a go on the equipment, and go from there.
So here's our opening competitor in the opening event for this first night of finals. Women's beam, and it's 10 in UA of Malaysia.
For those new to the sport, Dave, 10 centimetres wide, that beam that she's on.
And don't tell them that. It's an extraordinary apparatus and never ceases to amaze the skills that they're able to produce.
The girl's doing a combination of, unfortunately she's come off there, having combinations of acrobatic skills as well as acrobatic skills with leaps and turns, so you'll see a lot of different combinations.
Minette Russo's just dashed up the stairs and you're huffing and puffing.
Got my breath back now.
You're fit. There is a lift. That's the way I came up.
It's the way I'll be going up. A little bit wobbly, the first competitor here. There'll be large deduction errors when they have to land and correct themselves. And 1.0 for the fall earlier, so shaky start. Decent leap connection series there, Minette.
Yeah, she's looking quite good and strong, just finishing off her routine here with a back layer off the beam.
So it's our first competitor, 10 in UA of Malaysia. 9 athletes in the women's beam, so we'll lose one ahead of the final. So we'll keep an update on the scores as we proceed through the evening. But we'll head off to men's vault.
Yes, Australia's Clay Stevens will be performing his first vault here. 25-metre run-up for the guys. So Clay feeling the power in the legs today. Brilliant vault there, except for just overcooking it and taking 2 huge steps on landing there.
Certainly had a lot of power off the horse, didn't he? And one of the things that we'll talk a little bit about throughout the evening is the new code of points, and after each games they revise the way they score the gymnasts in both the men's and the women's. And one of the changes here in the vault, Sam, is that they're encouraging and in fact rewarding if you can land straight with the line straight down the middle.
Absolutely, yeah. You'll see if we get a nice aerial shot, and as we go through this event, that there's 3 lines down that blue mat on the vault. If you land in between all of those, there's no deduction, but different landings for either landing outside those lines or stepping outside them once you've landed. So those lines do get wider as it gets longer, so you get a bit more leeway as you get longer on the vault, which is rewarding people for going for more power and harder vaults. So we'll see how the guys go there. Clay fairly straight in that one, just unfortunately a bit too long.
So new generation of Australian men's gymnasts, unfortunately not qualifying for Rio, and that happened at the first qualifying stage. So a young group. Not feeling itchy, Sam, that you're not out there as a... Happy now that it's a lot easier in the commentary position.
It is easier, especially watching vaults like that. So good second vault from Clay, similar entry. So doing a round off onto the board, but a half twist from the board to when he hits the horse. So 2 strong vaults. And as you said, a young group, and Clay's part of that young group training at the AIS in Canberra at the Centre of Excellence. And he's got plenty of power, and he can work towards that over the coming years.
All-rounder, or what's his best apparatus?
He does do the all-around. Clay's very strong. You'll see him later on in the parallel bars. But very good aerially, so we'll be seeing him again.
Back to the beam, Estella Matthewson of New Zealand.
She's quite a young gymnast, Estella. She came up well in the junior ranks, and so just starting her senior year here. So we're hopefully going to see some good things from her.
It's one of the things a year after an Olympics where the athletes that have just hung on for their career have gone into retirement. The ones that may not have just made it through to the senior ranks now start to get their opportunity as countries look to build a team that can qualify for the Games. Of course, for the New Zealanders, the Commonwealth Games next year on the Gold Coast, a great opportunity.
And Estella did mention that 2018 Com Games is her goal, so she'll be wanting to do well here starting the year off. Going into her aerial. Small wobble on the leap series, a requirement that all the girls have to have in their beam routine is a leap series to ensure that they're compliant with all the composition requirements. She's getting ready for a dismount. Full twist off the beam. Nice clean routine. Not too much difficulty there, but she nailed it all and will be happy with that routine.
So Matthewson of New Zealand will get her score shortly. Back to the vault. And this is Watua Tanagawa, one of the very strong men from Japan that are here in Melbourne.
Absolutely good, strong contingent from Japan. They always support competitions in Australia well. Worthy of noting, 13.483, the score for Clay Stevens that this Japanese man's trying to beat. Big first vault there. Was attempting the handspring double pike. They're very high in difficulty. And what we call in gymnastics the blind landing, so he can't see the floor as he comes out as well. And unfortunately just undercooking that one, taking a couple of steps and then putting his hand down. So that'll incur a 1.0 deduction as we see a replay of that here. So good height, nice straight in the legs, opened out just a little too early, taking those couple of steps and putting the hand down. So in terms of judging on that one, the judges will give that a 1.0 deduction. It would have been deemed that without his hand going on the floor, he would have fallen and sat down. So maximal deduction on that one.
We talked about the Japanese team here, two of them from Rio, where they were silver medalists. Kenzai Shirai, he'll be up next. Koji Yamamuro. So it's a good opportunity for Tanagawa to be amongst the company of some of their giants. Second vault for him now.
Just rehearsing as he goes. Gymnasts will have to do vaults from two different families. So essentially the first and second half can't be the same from one vault to the next. So we'll see a slightly different vault here.
He's busy on takeoff, isn't he? There's a lot going on.
Absolutely. So another strong vault. So the Sukahara with triple twist. Pretty impressive. The judges will be keeping a keen eye on whether they thought he completely made that the twisting rotation all the way around to facing exactly back to the vault again.
Back to the beam, and Emily Little from Australia, who's certainly one to watch from an Australian perspective over the next few years. Has already notched a couple of World Cup wins. I'll make up stats, by the way, but which tomorrow will be right, but now will just be total inventions. So don't look at me stupid if I say something.
No, you're pretty much on point there. She's been doing well, and even on the beam, this apparatus, it's one of her strongest apparatus. She did come third in the Toyota competition in Japan in December recently, so she'll be feeling confident on here. She's a very strong competitor on this apparatus. Front summy, small deduction there. Into her acro series, nailing that one. She's really concentrating here, getting every element of the routine right. So front aerial into a leap series. I think she was meant to connect that one, but just didn't quite get there, so she won't get the connection for that. Getting ready to come towards the end of her routine now. This is the hardest part when the gymnast needs to focus, and that's where they sometimes lose it there, just falling off the beam on her leap. Got to gain her composure to finish off the routine. Into the dismount, double pike. So unfortunately a fall there for Emily Little, which I'm sure she won't be happy about, but the rest of the routine was quite solid. So if she doesn't get any other deductions in that routine, we could still see a good score from her.
So the top 8 qualifying for the final. As we take a look at the replay of Emily Little's routine.
So her change side with the half is where she was off balance and just fell backwards there.
Some changes in the way this apparatus has scored, Manette, too, with the gymnast being encouraged to connect each move rather than stopping and starting.
Yes, there's a big focus on trying to get all the elements to be connected together. A lot of focus as well on doing the leaps and turns. Turns are a big one, which you'll start to see. It's a new trend coming into this cycle of coda points.
So we wait for the score for Emily Little from Australia, Matthewson of New Zealand, and Tan In Yue of Malaysia, the 3 that have gone so far. So we head back to the vault where Jordan O'Connell ends. Did we see Shirai and Remkes? Did they go, or did they just haven't seen them?
No, they haven't gone. So this is the second vault for New Zealander. So Sukahara lay it with full twist.
Possibly. He's got a different number too. So whether he's actually Jordan O'Connell Inns number 122 or he's number 120. I'm looking at the right thing, aren't I? MAG qualifying. Yep.
A decent second vault there. 13.433 was his score in his first vault. The vaults are two vaults are scored and then averaged. He's looking fairly happy. Good to see the New Zealanders coming over and making the most of getting the experience of competing in and around all of these other higher class athletes as well.
Chinese gymnasts always to be respected, and this is Liu Qingqing up on beam.
She's a great competitor on this apparatus. You'll see some beautiful lines from her, starting with a difficult mount, front summy onto the beam. Front handspring into a front tuck, which you don't see a lot of gymnasts doing front walkovers on the beam into a front summy. So good to see her trying something different. Complying with the code as well. Leap into cartwheel aerial, connecting it to another leap. A lot of connections in this routine. Beautiful aerial down to the beam. The judges will definitely be looking at the artistry and the composition. She's really showing this as her own apparatus, and you can see that she's got her own style, which the judges really like to see. Coming up to the dismount. You can hear the bell, which gives the gymnast a 10-second warning. Do a double back dismount. Small hop on the landing, but a very beautiful routine from the Chinese.
So probably the best routine we've seen so far, you would think, from Liu of China. We go back to the twisting machine of Kenzo Shirai. First attempt on the vault.
Beautifully executed vault there by Kenzo. Fairly happy with that. Similar to Clay's first vault, the Yuroshenko entry, so the round off onto the board and backflip onto the horse, as you'll see here. And then I need slow motion to see how many twists that is. Triple twist, I think.
He gets them done. Always fascinates me the athletes after a big Olympic campaign that come back early to compete. We'll see the Olympic gold medalist on the beam shortly, the women's competition. But it's not easy, Sam, to get the head back around, getting into the gym and coming back to an elite level competition. Yeah,
particularly as well early in a calendar year. Often not a huge number of events early in the year, and World Championships are normally September, October type time. So there's often a real building phase from the early stage of the year. Kenzo, a very young gymnast, so perhaps doesn't need as much of a holiday as some of the older ones over Christmas. And gymnastics is one of those sports where there isn't a lot of time off, perhaps a week to 10 days over Christmas at best, depending on whether there's competitions or not. So you're always in and around the gym, but great to see people of Shirai's standard here for this first of 4 World Cups of the next coming 4 years. Second vault now. Not as well executed as the first. Similar to Clay, opting to do the round off with the half turn onto the horse for his second vault. And as you saw differently from his first one, not quite as high, so not as much time to finish that rotation and prepare for his landing. As you'll see, half turn, almost full turn onto the horse there. So he's given the judges plenty to think about. Currently we've got Tanagawa in first, followed by Clay Stevens, and then Luke Dobney it is, from New Zealand. So Shirai will be in the mix there. I dare say he'll probably be first or second place, but be looking to tidy those vaults up come Saturday night in the final.
He's had a good couple of days already. Shirai qualified in first spot on the floor last night, so he'll be back tomorrow for the final of that. And you would think on the strength of this, in fact with 8 competitors, he will be going through to the final of the men's vault. Let's go back to the beam and Isabel Brett from New Zealand.
Isabel Brett is again another young gymnast from New Zealand. Did well in the juniors and is now competing in her senior year, so good to get some experience here in Melbourne.
You can see the score just behind her, skewered now, but 14.666 for Liu of China is the best we've seen so far.
Doing a round-off layout mount onto the beam. The girls are really trying to step up their mounts as well, get those extra bonus points towards the routine. Every 10th counts. Split change into split change half. Not sure if she did hit her full split on the second leap there, so she might not get that skill paid. Showing composure, and that is a very tough skill indeed on the beam, is to try and look as calm as possible. Oh, just off the beam there. Didn't quite get enough height on that aerial cartwheel and landed very low, causing her to fall off the beam. Getting ready for her turn requirement. Double turn. Oh, big wobble. Again, just losing that balance. Needs to keep it together to finish the rest of the routine. Coming up to her dismount. Twisting dismount. Small hop on the landing, but very nicely executed. And I'm sure she is not overly excited about those 2 falls, but there's always next time. The replay of her mount there.
We're only going to lose 1 here in terms of qualification for the final, so we may see Isabella Brett back for the finals. Have to wait for her score here.
There's the turn that just overbalanced and took her off the beam. And a double twisting dismount. Finishing off the routine there for Isabella.
It's Sane weavers? Sane. So waiting for the score here for Isabella Brett. Men's vault competitors second half having their warm-ups. Best so far is Kenzo Shirai ahead of Tanagawa, making up the scores here because I don't have any. Here's Christopher Remkes, the young Australian. He qualified for the floor final yesterday, an 8th spot, which is a good effort.
Absolutely. So a young gymnast originally from Adelaide, the Gym Jets training program there.
Powerhouse location of Australian gymnastics, South Australia. You
said it, and I'll agree with you, Dave. That's absolutely true. So Clay Stevens also, who led us off from the same program, so has produced some of Australia's stars.
Such as?
The man on your screen. So Chris has a couple of really decent-sized vaults. If he does what he was performing in warm-up, he'll do a double front with half turn on this one. So should propel him right up in the top of the leaderboard if he can do this well. Brilliant.
Well, he comes in with pace, doesn't he? And off the takeoff, he gets some height. There's not much of him, a little pocket rocket, but he uses the power off the takeoff well.
Absolutely. You can see tucking in, pulling into a really nice tight tuck there. You got to time that kick out well so that he can spot the floor and see it. You can barely see over the horse as he comes down the vault run. But as you said, very, very powerful young athlete. That's a very hard vault to execute well. If you don't have enough rotation, you do that half turn and it can be terrible for your ankles and all kinds of things. So a gutsy vault and well executed today from Chris. So just waiting for the judges to give him his score and give him the okay to go. So that judge sitting there on the bottom right of your screen, holding up a number, that indicates to the judges what vault Chris has told them that he will attempt to do. The athletes don't have to do the vault that they say, but it just gives the judges a heads up as to what they're expecting to see.
It seems like a lot to me that there could be 286 different variations for the judges to know. I'm sure it's not quite as difficult as that. But
there are lots of variations. The number will be different. So if you do a vault with a half turn, that'll have a different number to one with a full turn, 1.5 double. It goes on and on and on. And the gymnasts are getting more innovative, and there's different vaults and different skills coming all the time. So you don't have to memorise 286, but you do have to memorise what you see in front of you as it comes.
Haven't thought about being a judge?
I am a judge at local level.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. It's, I think it's I started that from a very early age when I was still competing, and I think it gives you an appreciation for, it helps you as an athlete, I think. It helps you understand how and why you get the scores that you do. So we've made a bit of reference to this so-called code of points. It's kind of the gymnastics Bible. It's the book with all the skills within it, and the gymnasts have to create their routines out of those. So we can talk a bit more about that in time, I suppose.
Well, it's what they base everything on and what they base their routines and the development of them in the lead up to the major competitions. This is Tracy Ang of Malaysia.
She's actually won the Beam 2016 World Cup Challenge in Slovenia. So she is a strong competitor on this apparatus. Into a difficult aerial series there, which took her off the beam. the aerial cartwheel into a back layout step out. Very difficult. Into a double turn, small wobble. Speaking about those turn requirements, earlier the turns, we're seeing a lot more double turns on the beam in this code of points.
It's the great thing about gymnastics at the start of another Olympic cycle is that everybody starts to find the combinations and skills that work well and are going to get good scores. So it's good to be at the forefront of that here in Melbourne.
I guess I'm just talking here, but we'd wait for the dismount. But we can talk like that generally over some of the routines, I would have thought.
Yep.
If there's something interesting to talk. Because I would then say that obviously the gymnasts will build on their routines throughout the 4-year cycle. So what we're seeing now, isn't what they're producing. But, when do they have to rule a line under what they're going to do in the last World Championships or whatever? Let's go back to the men's vault and Christopher Remke's. Slight delay before his second one, so here he comes with that number 286, which is that.
Oh.
Again, another really, really difficult vault from Chris there. That's Sukahara with double tuck or pike, slightly bent legs. I think he was aiming for pike, but they may take some deductions there. Again, that one's a very, very hard vault to land. If you open that one out too early, again, you can put your hands down and 1.0 deduction, but if you pull it around too far, as Chris unfortunately did there, then end up on your backside. He's got enough power to almost pull around a third one.
I think he's ready to add that one in there.
Yeah, well, we did see there was a gymnast at another competition late last year who did do a triple somersault. And I don't think the powers that be were happy with that, saying it's probably a bit too dangerous. So double salts it is.
So here's the standings in the men's vault with Stevens leading ahead of Tanagara of Japan, Dobney and Shirai. And Remkes will get his final score, the average of those two vaults shortly. So 8 athletes all go through to the final. Of course, in the final we'll be talking about who's got the top spot on the podium for this Apparatus World Cup of 2017, the opening event on the gymnastics program for 2017. Talked about the great opportunity for the young Australian athletes to be competing here.
The boys just having a chat and waiting for scores there. On to the next superstar.
Well, this is a superstar Olympic champion, Sanne Weavers of the Netherlands.
Obviously the gold medalist in Rio on this apparatus. She is also known as the pirouette queen, which you will see later on in her routine.
Surely stole that name from you, Manette.
I tried. She is just so graceful on this apparatus. Just so fluid. Everything looks like a breeze and just makes it look all too easy sometimes. Nice aerial connections there. Front aerial into her split leap. Triple turn, nailing that one, making it look easy as pie. And this is her turn series. Ooh, small wobble there. Not connecting it into the last turn. Still very well executed. It's very difficult to do all those turns, trying to spot the beam and then connect it into another turn. And this is actually her first competition since Rio, so it's great to have her here in Melbourne with us. Coming up to the dismount, nailing that routine. An excellent performance from Sanne.
So the Olympic champion returns to competition and does it with a fair amount of style as well, as you would expect. But when you consider all of the things that she's been through after winning that gold medal from the Netherlands, a superstar back home, and went to the opening of every envelope after the games, as you do. So great to see her back. We'll wait for her score. She's going to be hard to beat. Back to the men's vault. And this is Jim Man Hin of Hong Kong.
Strong first vault there. One of the better landings we've seen so far in the field. We'll see a replay of that here. So the Sukahara entry and then 2.5 twist, opening out nicely. Slightly deep landing, but only probably a medium error for that step. So we'll get a good execution score there.
He did well to hang on to that landing. He almost sat on his backside, but was able to stay upright. Just a small backward step.
Absolutely.
So second vault coming up for Jim of Hong Kong. Waiting for the score of Sane Weavers.
Now, the second vault from Hong Kong, Jim Man.
So the second vault here for Jim Man Hin. And coming up a bit short on that one, so the handspring entry. I'll lay it with 1.5 twist. Unfortunately, with not enough power on rotation, he's had to take a large step there. So a slightly lower difficulty than a couple of the front runners. And then not executing that second vault as well as he'd like. But he will, with 8 competitors, he will be back on Saturday night. See whether he can perform better on that case.
So here's Weavers and the magnificent pirouetting on the beam, which, as Manette said, looks so easy, but just to spin around once is incredibly difficult, and she does it on multiple occasions.
Absolutely. There's her turn series that she's so famously known for now.
Any limit to the number of those moves that she can do? She seems to have more in her routines than anyone else.
She does use the turns a lot. It is actually one of the requirements that they have to do, but she still has to make sure she has the 4 other composition requirements in her routine, so can't be full of turns. As much as she'd love that, probably.
So we wait for her score.
Talking with her twin sister there, Leaky.
But she's not competing here. So she's just here for sightseeing.
She has. Well, they've actually been here for
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've been doing some workshops with other gymnasts. So we now have Emma Nedov from Australia. She has a world-class beam routine. Beautiful flip layout. Nice change leap, throwing the head back. She's a very flexible gymnast, but also very strong and can get some great skills on the beam. Front layout into her sheep jump, getting her a connection there. Front summy and nailing that one. Coming up to her dismount now to finish off the routine. Double pike. Small step off the side of the mat, but she looks very happy with herself there.
It's a good routine for the Australian Emma Nedov on beam. Back to the vault, and this is the competitor from Turkey, Ahmed Onda.
Super glue on the feet there, Dave. That's a brilliant landing. Double fist bump from the coach. You probably don't get that unless you stick that landing. Beautiful height in that vault. Good form. As we see it here, it's worth replaying this one. 2.5 twist. Sees the landing. So, judges not wasting much ink on that one. Very well executed vault. It's going to put him right up there. So Kenzo Shirai, I think, currently the leader, 14.549. So we'll have to put in a good second vault. As we said, it's an average of the 2. But couldn't have done much more with that one. Don't know why he's practicing the stuck landing. He's done that already.
You mentioned before the fact that they have to do 2 different vaults. So is the degree of difficulty normally similar for both?
Yeah, if you're strong on this apparatus, it will be. Normally you'll do your harder, or the vault that you find hardest first, with your slightly weaker one second. As we saw with Chris, though, 2 very strong vaults. So, not sure what vaults to come here, but we'll see. Again, fairly good execution there from Ondo. A handspring double front. So landing in that deep squat position, which does incur a fairly large deduction. And as a result, having to step a long way to the side. But good height, good form in the air, as we'll see. Knees a little bit apart. So big deduction on landing, but not too many others. So he'll be pretty happy with that and pretty confident coming into Saturday in the top 3, I would say, definitely.
He's also qualified for the final of the floor. Qualified in 4th spot there, so we'll see him tomorrow night in the final. A couple of Turkish competitors here. Arakan next up. So here's the standings in the beam. Liu of China leading ahead of Weavers, and then Ang of Malaysia, Matthewson and Little, whose tenths and hundredths of a point has disappeared, so 11.8. So back to the beam. And the final competitor, Liu Huan of China.
Huan is only just 16 years old, so another young competitor here this evening. But, of course, we can expect good things from her in her beam routine. The Chinese always are strong on this apparatus.
They win the gold medal for sparkles on their Leos, if nothing else.
Absolutely. It's handy technique to distract the judges, I think.
So starting off with a mount down on the beam. That's also another requirement. The gymnast must get different elements up, down, forward, backwards on the beam. So the judges want to see the gymnast using the whole length of the beam. Round off layout. Beautiful into a stag jump. So a nice connection series there. Slight wobble at the end, but she'll definitely get her bonus connection points in that series. Aerial cartwheel. So far looking like a very nice clean routine.
A couple of people peeking in from behind the curtain.
Keen to see what's going on. It's hilarious. Look at them. Whee!
Coming up to a dismount, double pike. Beautifully executed routine. Not too many deductions there and a lot of difficulty, so I think she'll definitely be going through to Saturday night finals.
So they've had a good hand, the Chinese women, on the beam, with Liu currently leading and Liu Huan there putting down a good performance and most certainly qualifying for the final. Back to the men's vault, and this is Ferhat Archan of Turkey. Ahmet Onda performing well. Performance before, currently in second place. So here's Archan.
Again, attempting that handspring double front. Not quite getting the same elevation off the horse, so not having enough time to pull that one around. Unfortunately, sitting that one down. So the gymnasts do have to show that their feet hit the ground first, otherwise they can get a score of 0. But as we'll see here, gets his feet to the floor, but just can't quite get his feet underneath him enough.
So you talked about the triple somersault in the vault and whether it's allowed or not. And surely it's a bit like the high bar where the tricks just become more and more extreme, and the multiple releases and the height that they're getting in order to increase their degree of difficulty, surely this apparatus is not too far away from that occurring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's got to be some point where it kind of maxes out, where these guys
when
can't.
you land on your head.
Well, exactly. That would be one time when it probably does, and that's what the code of points is there for. It's reviewed.
So you can't do a triple somersault on the vault.
As far as I'm aware, I should double check that one.
Check that out.
But there was a young man that did do that. Successfully did the vault, but I think they said, we can't have too many people doing this. It could be too dangerous. Second vault here, though. So a lot lower on difficulty, that one, than his first vault. The Sugihara layout with 1.5 twist. Executed quite well. But due to the fall on the first one and then the low difficulty there, that'll keep him lower down in the ranks. But he'll be on again on Saturday night.
It's interesting, the difficulty, because if you look at some of the winter sports, aerial skiing, slopestyle, etc., where it's just extreme stuff, and they actually are pushing it to the limit of, you look at Lydia and what she does.
Yeah.
You're pushing it to the limits of what's possible, but they're allowed to do it.
Yep.
And the reward is there if you do it. The risk is unbelievable.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of people like their knees, and there's obviously that risk with those. And there's not many skills that happens to, but there are times where they have to say, I think it's probably more for some of the people that perhaps might not be ready to perform those skills, but the pressure of competition means that they do, and you've got to look after safety as well as pushing the limits. So you will see that. The men they're always trying new skills. So Kenzo Shirai and Christopher Remke's the first two athletes to perform a double layout somersault with triple twist on floor, both at the same competition. So the guys and the girls are all still pushing the envelope and trying to find improvements where they can. If you can get over your competition with difficulty and then execute it well, then you're further up the leaderboard.
Yep. And particularly in these apparatus, obviously an all-around competition, it's the combination of scores across all the apparatus, so you want to be very even, or as even as you can. But in these apparatus where you have experts in particular apparatus, particularly the likes of the rings and the pommel horse, you high bar, those skills extreme. So here's the standings after the men's vault. So Shirai takes the top spot on the qualifying ahead of Onda of Turkey, Tanagawa of Japan. Remkes, he's in the mix for a medal, no doubt. Have a look at those scores. Not much between second and fourth, and then a bit of a gap back to Jim of Malaysia. That's Clay Stevens, is it? Not Mason Stevens. That's his middle name, and his passport's got him on the graphic. Ahead of Arakan and Dobney. So they're the standings after the men's vault. Nice graphic.
Yeah, tight scores there, so we should see an interesting vault final come Saturday night.
Is down on the floor with Like Weavers.
I'm here with Like, Sane's twin sister. Like, how did you think that Sane went in her routine this evening? Obviously, it's a great routine, and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think she did a really good job on the first competition again after Rio. So that was really exciting for her. And it's just getting in a new rhythm and a new routine. So she has to get used to that kind of routine. So I think for the first one, it was a really good job.
She did amazing. We all thought she did really well on her, her great apparatus. So you've been spending some time in Melbourne. Have you been enjoying your time here so far?
Yeah, definitely. It was a great month here. We were really welcomed here, and that felt really nice. We trained a lot, and we also did some clinics to raise some money for Hayden Marshall. We were really glad we could help something for him. And yeah, of course, focusing on the World Cup for Sana was amazing that she could compete here.
Well, you've done some amazing things, yourself and Sane, and so we hope that we wish you the best of luck, and we can't wait to see you again here in Melbourne.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you again.
Thanks, Manette, and great to see them here.
She can do it all, Manette. She was obviously the bronze medalist in the all-around competition when we had World Championships here in 2005, so she's no stranger to the gymnastics community. It's great to have her insights into today's competition and the rest of the weekend. So one rotation down. The next rotation, we will see men's parallel bars and the women on the floor. Crowd getting pretty excited at seeing themselves on a screen.
Sellout here on Saturday for the final night of competition, and a big crowd expected tomorrow night for the first night of finals.
Absolutely, not many tickets left, I'm told, for Friday, so some sensational action to come. So it'll be the men's floor, pommel horse and rings, and the women's vault and bars on Friday night.
Talk about that 2005 World Championships. It was next door at Rodelaver Arena. It was a sellout for that women's final, and Monette was the star of the show from the Australian perspective.
Absolutely was. It was a pretty special week. We'd have to ask her. I don't know what her expectations were leading into that final, but I was in the crowd yelling and screaming and making a lot of noise, and it was great that we hadn't had international gymnastics in Australia for a long time, and when it came, we've got a medalist, and it was a superb thing.
Athletes coming out for the next apparatus for this qualifying. Women's floor. Men's parallel bars. It's going back to that 2005. And there's a great picture of two young athletes sitting in the stands, dressed in their Australian T-shirts. Young 11 or 12 years of age. One of them was Lauren Mitchell, who was watching Monette and, of course, went on to become a world champion.
Absolutely, and that's what these events hope to do, don't they? Inspire the next batch of people that are either within our gymnastics community already or those that aren't to join. So hopefully that's what this event does, as well as bringing high-class gymnastics to Hisense Arena. It's promoting what I call the world's hardest sport to Melbourne and beyond. So fantastic thing.
And which apparatus is the hardest of the world's hardest sport? Obviously, you haven't ever tried pole vaulting. It's pretty hard. I'm sure pole
vaulting is very hard. With my lack of height, I don't think I'd be any good at pole vault.
Well, a lot of good gymnasts become. In fact, Nina Kennedy, who's the former world junior record holder, was a level 6 international gymnast and, from Western Australia. But pommel horse has got to be the hardest, surely.
Yeah, it's a waste of some really good leather. It's not an apparatus I excelled on at all, with short arms, and didn't find it very easy to get around. I think the girls will tell you that beam is probably one of the hardest, but it's all very individual as well, depending on your strengths and weaknesses as an athlete. But I think gymnastics requires so much of you. You've got to be strong but flexible. You've got to look powerful but artistic and graceful at the same time.
And you can see that here as the women's field introduced for the floor, and different shapes and sizes of the competitors. Emily Little from Australia, Georgia Goodwin as well, along with Liu Qingqing of China, who we just saw perform well on the beam. She's joined by Wang Yan of China on this apparatus. So the competitors having some warm-up time on the floor, and you can see at the top left-hand side of the screen the men in the parallel bars also getting their warm-up underway.
You mentioned gymnastics, and it's and the way it leapfrogs other athletes. I remember a pole vaulter who you will know, Tatiana Grigorieva, used to come into the gym in Adelaide and hone some of her, the acrobatic type skills and do some core strengthening type stuff. No doubt that helped her on her quest. Silver medal it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sydney Olympic Games.
Sydney Olympics.
Yeah, no, they do a lot of that sort of work, and there's a lot of crossover between. In fact, I'm sure a lot of sports now have learned from the core exercises that gymnasts have been doing for many years, that in many other sports, whether it's football, both Australian rules, and soccer, and etc., that core stability that gymnasts have taken for granted for decades, now spreading well and truly out to other sports.
Absolutely. And gymnastics as a sport, I think, just gives you a lot of awareness of your own body and where it is in space and all of those things. So that has such crossover to so many other sports. So.
Yeah.
It's a big program for Emily Little. She's already qualified for the final of the vault, waiting for the scores from the beam earlier, but expecting her to go through to that final as well.
Absolutely, and she's got some really big, powerful tumbles that we might see here as she goes for this floor routine. So one of her stronger events too. Double layout on floor, not a particularly common.
And we have Ali Raisman here, who's come all the way from the States to join us for the World Cup Gymnastics in Melbourne. Everyone, welcome Ali. Thanks for being here with us. Now, I wanted to ask you about your GK leotards and which one your favourite leotard is.
My favorite GK leotard is the one that's out right now. It's royal blue and it has the stars, so it's very patriotic. I always have fun designing them, and I like to try to keep a patriotic one in every single collection.
Now, a question that everyone wants to know about the leotards, do you always have to add sparkles to them? Because, of course, our leotards have to be nice and sparkly. They look great when you're out there on the floor. Is that something that you consider as well?
When I'm competing, I definitely love to have a lot of sparkles. I usually like to keep it just a simple color with mesh sleeves and a lot of sparkles. Unless I'm doing patriotic, then I'll have the 3 colors. But with training leotards, sometimes I just like the simple spandex leotard because it's just really comfortable. And some of my new leotards, the material, you can't see the sweat on it, which is really nice in the summer. I know it's really hot here, so it's nice when you're sweating. You don't have to worry about it showing, so it's very comfortable.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing more of you and seeing the rest of the competition. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone.
Ali Raisman there, one of the members of the final 5, triple Olympic champion, twice in London and then returning to win team gold in Rio. Simone Biles, her teammate, who, along with Usain Bolt, shared the Laureus Award. Biles, female sportsperson of the year in 2016. Bolt, the male sportsperson of the year, that awarded in Monaco just last week.
Thank you.
As Shirai of Japan warming up on parallel bars. We can take a look at the results shortly from what we've seen so far. Here's the women's beam. So Liu and Liu of China taking the top 2 spots ahead of Weavers and Nedov of Australia. Ang, Matthewson, Little, who's got a bit to improve, a bit up her sleeve, I think, after her first qualifying routine there for the final, and then Ng of Malaysia. So all of those 8 athletes going through to the beam final on Saturday night.
A big spread of scores. Obviously, you see that with, and there's falls on each apparatus. So room to move for some, and not much for the 2 Chinese at the top, pretty close there.
So let's go to the opening competitor on floor. It's Isabella Brett of New Zealand.
See a combination of dance elements, tumbling elements. She goes for her first tumble here. Double tuck, executed well. Two and a half twist. Straight into her 3rd tumbling line here. Handspring front layer full twist straight into the leap element. So aiming for some extra difficulty there. Normally 3 or 4 tumbling rows, you'll see the girls do. potentially all having to be choreographed strongly to the music.
So Isabella Brett of New Zealand, opening competitor on floor.
Good clean start, that one. Always good, and puts the pressure on the rest of the qualifiers if you can put up your routine and have a strong one first.
On to parallel bars for men, and it's Zhu Jinwan of China.
Now, this should be a special routine. Young 19-year-old. All the boys telling me in warm-up that he is an absolute freak. That's a very difficult element, the front uprise Diamidol for the full turn. Felga elements going through that basket hang there. Done beautifully. So the guys having to do elements in hang, in support, also in that basket position with their legs close to their nose. He's working through all of those elements here, and not many mistakes. Perhaps clipped his legs a couple of times on the bars. You see a double front with half turn and stuck dismount. So that's, we're talking about pressure leading off with strong first competitors, and that's going to be one of the routines to beat, I think.
Good opening routine for Zhu of China. Give you his score as soon as we've got it. And we can head back to floor and Tracy Ang of Malaysia.
She's a strong competitor on this apparatus. She did come first in the 2016 World Cup Challenge in Slovenia. And at 23 years of age, she is one of the older competitors here this evening, so she still can perform just as well. First tumbling line, front layout full, and that is a big focus this time in the codes, is to have more forward tumbling so the girls don't rely on all their back tumbling as their big elements. Nice double pike. Showing different movements on the floor, expressing herself. Judges like to see the gymnasts show their own style on this routine. Third tumbling pass, double back tuck. Nice solid landing there. And she looks happy with that routine.
And with good reason, good effort from Tracy Ang of Malaysia on floor. Coach is happy, teammates happy.
It's always that good feeling to nail your routine.
Back to parallel bars, and it's the New Zealander Debbie Dyson.
15.433 for the Chinese athlete Zhu earlier. That is world-class standard.
It's going to be hard to beat, that's for sure.
I think it very much will be.
Can produce that in the final. He'll be singing the national anthem, you would think, at the presentation.
Absolutely. Debbie putting in a good show to start with here.
Where are the New Zealanders at compared to the Australian team and battle that would loom at the Commonwealth Games along with England?
Yeah, I think Australia would still have the wood over the New Zealanders at this point, but a couple of great competitors. I think they'll probably go through a bit of a similar rebuilding phase with some older athletes perhaps retiring, so we'll see what this next batch has. England's still very, very strong, and definitely the ones to beat. But Debbie Dyson showing a fairly clean parallel bar routine there. Not easy at all, gymnast. But a fairly clean routine. Won't have the same kind of difficulty score that the Chinese athlete that preceded him, but a good routine by the New Zealander.
Here's Emily Little, the Australian, on floor.
Emily is a strong competitor on this apparatus. She's been the Australian champion 2 years running. Always starts with a solid first tumbling line here. The double layout. Nice and straight in the air, getting heaps of height there. Full in tuck. Just makes it look so easy getting all that height. Crowd clapping along to her routine. Everyone loves to get involved in Emily's routine on floor. Really draws in the crowd, especially with this big tumbling lines that she performs. To her fourth tumbling line now, double pike. And a very solid routine there from Emily. Waves to the crowd, she's happy. The crowd's happy.
Hopefully the judges are happy. Stared them down at the end.
Was a good stare, wasn't it? She was a finish with a flourish. So 3 competitors down on the women's floor. Georgia Goodwin from Australia will be up next.
Just catching her breath there after the 90-second routine. And here we can see her replay. It's her first tumbling line, double layout, so much height. She does normally do a double layout with a full twist in there, but I think she might be saving that for Saturday.
So let's go back to the parallel bars and the Australian Mitchell Morgans.
And Mitchell, another one of the young men training at the Centre of Excellence in Canberra. Got some decent difficulty here on this parallel bars routine, so hopefully he can put on a big show. High bar would be his specialty apparatus, which he'll be on in the next rotation, but see what he can do on the parallel bars here. Good Felger to start. Giant Jamadov. Giant catching to 1 bar. And that's not ideal. Fortunately, supposed to have both legs go between the bars, not much like that. Such a difficult skill to do well. The Healy from 1 bar. He's picked himself up though. Just the dismount to come. And double pike. Big step out of it. So apart from that mishap on that Healy, fairly clean routine, but there are 9 competitors in this parallel bars final, so hopefully Mitchell can stay in the hunt and come and represent us again on Saturday night.
He's still walking, which is good news, I have to say, after that mishap. Georgia Goodwin on floor.
Again, Georgia is a strong competitor on this apparatus. Does a very nice double layout, which we'll be seeing in her first tumble line. Great stretch position there. Her forward tumbling series, front layout full into front layout full. Doing a nice turn low on the floor there, the wolf turn. Landing a little low on that tumbling line, shoulders are down. Will incur a deduction, but looking good so far in this routine. She's got so much power and very fitting music as well to go with her. Low landing on her double pike, just trying to pull it through. But overall, a very nice routine there from Georgia Goodwin.
Dramatic music, wasn't it? And some good tumbling. Emily Little is currently leading in the women's floor, score of 12.633. Have a leaderboard shortly as we take a look at Godwin's pass.
So last pass there, she was really trying to pull it through and landed a little low on that last one.
Toe crushes, those landings. They look painful when they come up a little short. Still smiling for Georgia Godwin. So we wait for the scores here. Eight competitors, so all will go through to the final. And as you mentioned, are they putting out the same routine they will do on Saturday night in the final? We'll wait and see there. So back to parallel bars. And this is not Kenzo Shirai. This is
Koji Yamamuro.
Thank you.
From Japan. Part of the gold medal winning team from Rio. It should be a pretty impressive routine. Just clipping the bar with his legs on the way through, so the judges will take a decent deduction from him there. It's fairly rushed, so it's considered a fall onto the apparatus, so that'll be a 1.0 deduction. So a little scrappier than I would have thought from Yamamuro so far. Into the giant swings. Can't quite re-grasp the bar there as he goes. So uncharacteristically scrappy there from Yamamuro. He's got the arm pads on, as you can see, for all of those skills where the gymnasts are on the upper part of their arms, so you don't bruise and take all the skin off. He's got 30 seconds to remount the equipment for those that aren't familiar. We'll be wanting to maximise that, seeming a bit out of breath here at the moment. So finishing with his dismount now. Double pike to finish, so not his finest routine, Yamamuro.
Well, he'll make it through to the final, though, so he gets a chance to redeem himself on Saturday night, but it was a bit rusty, that's for sure. So we'll leave the parallel bars, head back to the floor. Liu Qing of China. I've already seen her on beam.
And she's just as strong a competitor here on the floor routine as well, because she had a great performance on the beam. Presenting to the judges and walking very elegantly to her starting position. Triple twist to a punch front. Not sure if she got that all the way around, so we'll have to wait and see if the judges did pay that one for her.
Don't know how lucky she will be with that 1 minute.
The double turn with the leg up. Again, that's a requirement that all the women must have in their floor routine, some kind of turn. And she has a lot of pirouettes in her routine, which may be why she is wearing socks to help her not get so much friction on the floor. Getting very close to the line there in a double tuck. A deduction if the gymnast does go outside the white line on the floor. But overall, a very nice routine from Ting Ting.
Slight frown, but high standards set by the Chinese athletes. So Liu Qingqing, currently Australia's Emily Little leading with 12.633. Just ahead of Tracy Ang of Malaysia. So there is the leaderboard. Isabella Brett, Godwin. So we wait for the score for Liu. Going to challenge, you would think, the 12.633 of Emily Little. So all 8 will go through to the final, but confidence booster to be at the top of that leaderboard. So 3 to come on the women's floor. Let's go back to men's parallel bars. Now, Yamamura wasn't on our start sheet, but Kenzo Shirai is, and he's up next.
Yeah, just preparing the parallel bars to start with, before the judges will present to him. See the male gymnast use a combination of either some sugar water solution or honey.
I've never been able to get to grips with that you actually get the Capilano out and squeeze it up and down on the...
Absolutely. You do.
Surely it doesn't help the person who comes next if they don't like the honey.
No, hence you scrape it off and then reapply it the way you like it. No, it does make it stickier, easier to hang on, especially when doing skills like that one, the Felga. And it does give you a snack in case you're hungry in the middle of training.
Magnesium and honey, not a great combination, I have to say.
I think you'd leave the magnesium out, but Shirai putting in a bit better performance than his counterpart Yamamura before him. Couple of big skills there. And winding up into his dismount, the front up rise, double tuck with half turn. We'll see a fair bit more of that in this next 4-year cycle, with that being a slightly higher valued element in terms of difficulty than the double pike that some of the other gymnasts do. So still some things to work on for Shirai, but a good, clean routine, and that will see him through into the final on Saturday.
So back to floor. Wang Yan of China next.
Starting off with the first strong tumble. She may be small, but she's got a lot of power in her. She did actually make the floor finals in Rio, so she has a world-class floor routine.
Like that bit of sass there, Manette, that was good.
She does express herself well, and again, that's what the judges want to see, the expressions from the gymnasts. It's an element that they do judge you on, so you have to ensure that you're not only technical and you've got the difficulty, you can execute it, but you can show that you're having fun out there as well. So a nice tumble, 2.5 into a front layout. Dancing all the way into a tumble. The gymnasts are not allowed to stand at the corner for more than a couple of seconds before they go into their tumbling line, so they tend to do a lot of dance movements and then straight into their tumbles. Finishing off with that sass and looking very happy with herself.
Good routine from Wang Yan of China. I can tell you that Liu Qingqing previously 13.400. That puts her ahead of Emily Little. And Wang will be challenging for that top spot here. Women's floor. Just a couple of competitors remaining. Matthewson and Tian Ing Hui of Malaysia still to come to round out the women's floor qualifying. Women will return tomorrow night for the vault and uneven bars finals. So Wang Yan happy with her effort on the floor. Here's the standings in the men's parallel bars. Zhu of China leads from Shirai, then Debbie Dyson and of New Zealand, and Mitchell Morgan's the first of the Australians. Yamamura, as we saw, had a lot of difficulties during his routine. Not as dangerously the difficulties as Mitchell Morgan's had.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's not the best fun you can have on a Thursday, Mitch, there, unfortunately.
I get the feeling that we'll see that on YouTube quite a bit in the coming weeks. I think his mates will let him know that that's there. Here's Estella Matthewson of New Zealand on floor.
Starting up her first line with a nice solid double pike. Again, just dancing straight into this tumbling line. Double tuck and just too much rotation there. Her front tumbling requirement. Front layout fall into a punch front. Front tumbling and also front saltos, they're just becoming more significant in routines. So we will start seeing a lot more of that in this cycle. Double twist, feet were a little bit apart. Not too difficult of a routine and an unfortunate fall in the middle there, but something that she can work on.
So Estella Matthewson of New Zealand. Saw her earlier on beam.
There's that tumbling pass, just too much rotation backwards and couldn't quite keep that landing.
Back to parallel bars. 4 competitors remaining. Ferhat Aradkan of Turkey.
Starting with a skill called the whippet, that front salt.
Whippet good.
From the upper arm.
Into shape.
It was good. The Felger half into the Felger onto one bar. Just controlling that handstand nicely and showing Mitchell how to do it well. That Healy back under 2 bars. Clean routine so far. Steps to handstand. He'll take a short break with the front uprise. Really good height there. Double tuck with half turn. So very good routine there from Ari Khan. Giving himself a little clap. He was pretty happy with that. Going to pick up his honey. And off he goes.
You two be too young to remember Devo, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yep. In a word.
Yep. I'll go with yep.
I'll bring it in for you and you can listen to it. They wore very silly hats. Back to floor. And the last competitor, Tan Ing Hui of Malaysia.
Again, going out of the floor. I think there's a bit of spring in the floor this evening.
Talking to some of the competitors as they were warming up today, saying that this floor is a little slower than some others that they're used to, and that takes a bit of time to get used to.
Nice double twist. Showing all the different dance elements. Looked like a quad turn there, or just a very nice looking triple. I'll have to look at the slow-mo for that one. And a nice solid routine there from Tang Ing Yue from Malaysia.
Final competitor on the women's floor, rounding out the competition for women tonight after beam and floor. Their final will be on Saturday night. As part of the final night of competition here in front of a sellout crowd at Melbourne's Hisense Arena.
Looking forward to that. Obviously, everybody on the floor getting used to the equipment, and then the pressure of finals comes, and it's going to be great to see over the next 2 nights as we see a replay here.
So Yan Wang of China's 13.433 for the floor finals from Rio is the best we've seen, ahead of Liu Jingting's 13.400, and my calculations are correct. I reckon Emily Little currently in 3rd place on the floor, 12.633. So some unofficial results on the women's floor. Back to parallel bars. Clay Stevens of Australia next up. That opening score of 15.433 of Zhu from China, still the best we've seen.
Absolutely. Clay has injected a few new skills into his parallel bar routine of late, so I'm very interested to see how that looks. Front uprise Stutz to handstand. Difficult element to do. Performed really well. Just clipping the feet there on the way through. Bavsar. The tip out. Oh, I'm not sure if he sat down. Well, I think I'm sure, but hopefully the judges aren't. Healy. Gamadov and Stutz winding up for his dismount now. The big front uprise. Double tuck. Just undercooked that one.
He looks relieved.
I think he is. Sometimes your parallel bar routine just, you don't get a break. It just goes and goes and goes. And before you know it, it's finished. So we'll just see as he comes through here, just clipping his feet. You could see the disappointment on his face as he came through as well. It's a good angle to see this one, this double front salt, just pushing backwards a little too early there. And then unfortunately nearly sitting down that dismount, but stayed on his feet. He's probably talking about that tip out there, I'm sure. That skill where he went underneath the bar, came up and caught in the straddle L sit with his legs apart. I get the feeling he actually sat on the bars, and if you do that, that is a 1.0 deduction. So hopefully the judges were looking down at their paper as he did that one.
So Zhu of China leads 15.433 Arakan of Turkey 14.833 and Shirai 14.200 from Japan. So they're the top three, some high quality routines. Wait for the score here for Clay Stevens. Here's the standings in the women's floor. So Wang Yan ahead of Liu Qingqing, 13.433 to 13.400. It's going to be a great battle between those two in the final. Emily Little qualifying in third spot ahead of Tracy Ang of Malaysia, then Brett from New Zealand, Godwin of Australia, Ng of Malaysia and Matthewson of New Zealand. So they'll all go through to the final, but it'll be a battle between the two Chinese. And Manette, you think that Emily Little's got a little bit more difficulty to add potentially to some of her tumbling routines to challenge the Chinese in the final?
I think she'll definitely bring it on Saturday, so it'll be a great competition.
And the Chinese, well, they've impressed tonight on both the beam and the floor. This is Wang Yan's routine.
Got to say, Manette, I did not expect her to do a double out in that first tumbling row.
She's deceiving. She's a little pocket rocket. Triple twist into the punch front.
Now look at the boys watching from behind the curtain.
Chinese guys keen to check out their teammate. What's indicative of the Chinese, young Chinese, generally a lot more expressive and a lot of sass. They, you're not supposed to get the internet in China, but they all have it, and they're not afraid of showing their emotions, and it's on display here, no doubt.
Absolutely, they're very good, along with their impressive technique on this apparatus. It just really brings the whole routine together.
So that's the women's floor done for the qualifying. Jim Man Hin of Hong Kong is the second last man to go on the parallel bars.
Piking with his bottom on the way up to the handstand there, so it'll take some deduction from the judges. That's all 3/4 to upper arm. Well executed tip out, as we saw, the legs nice and high off the bars. A fairly short routine there, into the dismount straight away, the double front. The big step out, so not much in that one, but still executed well from the young man from Hong Kong.
So difference in the length of the routine in terms of the number of skills you're
Absolutely.
on display?
Yeah, so the gymnasts, they have to do their 10 highest valued elements will be counted, so 9 and the dismount essentially. And some of them you'll end up seeing they might have 14 or 15 skills, because there's a lot of them that connect between their difficult elements. Obviously, the idea is to do the least number of skills as you can and develop the highest start value. So he's obviously connected them well and kept the routine fairly short. It means there's less time for the judges to take any execution deductions off of you. As we see, just holding on a little too long in that double front tucked at the end. A large step on landing. And similar thing from the side. Just the shoulders leaning forwards a little bit there, carrying him forward a bit too much.
So Jim of Hong Kong gives his own routine the thumbs up. Not sure if the judges are looking now. Can't influence what they're going to come up with here. But Zhu of China, the leader, 15.433, the opening man to go. Arakan of Turkey in second place. Shirai of Japan in third. Here's the last man to go, Ahmed Onda of Turkey. Saw him on vault earlier. Clay Stevens scored 12.033. So it's just ahead of Mitchell Morgan's 12.00. All 8 will go through to the final here, though. So here's the last man to go, Ahmed Onda. The men will return shortly for the men's high bar. Be the final apparatus on display tonight. The women completed their duties, beam and floor. This is Ahmed Onda of Turkey.
It's always nerve-wracking being the last gymnast up, seeing everyone go before you and know what the standard is.
You prefer to go first rather than last?
First is always good. Get it over and done with.
Okay. Everyone the same? Or are there some that are happy to go last, see what everyone's done and know exactly what they need to do?
I think there's some gymnasts who like to know what's out there and know what they have to put out, but I think I like to get out there and get it done.
Well, that's what Zhu Jinwan of China has done here with the 15.433, and Onda having some difficulties early in his routine. The man from Turkey.
Now has to compose himself and get through the rest of the routine nicely. Nice high release. Keeping this very clean. Just touching the bar there on the way out on his dismount.
So on to the final competitor in the men's parallel bars competition.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the competition.
He's brought along an impressive bag of mag, which he's taking off. He's got a lot of respect for that bag. I reckon it's seen some competitions.
Absolutely.
So that brings to a conclusion the men's parallel bars. Zhu of China will be the #1 ranked athlete ahead of the finals with his 15.433 as we look at the dismount there from Onda and just clipping the bar on the way down. Onda's teammate Ferhat Atakan will be in second place, 14.833, and Kenzo Shirai of China, of Japan, 14.200 will be in third place. But all 8 of these men will go through to the final. Come back tomorrow night, Saturday night. Tomorrow night, floor, pommel horse and rings for the men, and vault and uneven bars for the women. Looking forward to the women's vault final tomorrow. Wang Yan, who we saw on the floor, qualified in first place. Emily Little was in second in the women's vault, and they were quite a bit ahead of Naomi Lee of Australia. So now that should be a good battle between Wang of China and Little of Australia tomorrow night on vault.
Absolutely, and Emily Little is currently leading the World Cup Series on vault, so she'll be wanting to fight for that title.
So men's parallel bars completed. Men's high bar not too far away.
A couple of minutes, because some of the guys that are in that one will be in the next one. So it might be a minute.
You can see some young gymnasts in the crowd there who are definitely watching some of their idols here this evening.
We talked about that while you were downstairs when your bronze medal here at the all-around in Melbourne at the World Championships. And young Lauren Mitchell was in the crowd watching, went on to become a world champion herself. And a lot of the gymnasts here are just absolutely thrilled that Ali Raceman, the 3-time Olympic champion, is here. They get an opportunity to meet her, get her autograph, talk to her, and Ali's been enjoying the sights of Melbourne.
think it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. There's really no secret to being successful at any sport. It's just working hard and doing everything you can to be the best version of yourself. I'm here for the World Cup event. There's 4 nights of competition. I'll be at the competitions on Friday and Saturday, so I'm really looking forward to it. When I was younger, I started gymnastics at about 2 years old, and I loved it. I tried every single sport out there, and gymnastics was my favorite. My favorite event is floor, and my second favorite event is beam. The gymnastics competition is going to be really exciting. It's the beginning of the next, we call it quad, where, the 2016 Olympics just happened. And here you can kind of see the new, girls coming up for the 2020 Olympics. So it's going to be really cool to see, the next generation. Well, obviously, the fact that the World Cup is here in Melbourne, I'm really excited to watch the gymnasts from Australia. I know that they're all working very hard. I know that their goal is to qualify as a team. So I think that these World Cup events are really important and really good for them to get the confidence to compete and get the experience that as we get closer to the next Olympics, they feel confident and comfortable that they're going to qualify. I think the most exciting thing besides going to the competition, I really want to go to the zoo, and I'm also just excited to go to the beach and just kind of relax. And, I'm here for about a week, so I'm really excited. There will be lots of time to do stuff.
Ali Raceman there, the triple Olympic champion, and great to have her in Melbourne as an ambassador for this World Cup of Gymnastics. Here's the men's parallel bars, and Zhu of China ahead of Atakan of Turkey and Shirai of Japan, the top 3, and Zhu's going to be hard to beat. Very composed, and a big score of 15.433 in the men's parallel bars, and their top 8 will go through to the final on Saturday night. Let's go down to Sam Offit to preview the men's high bar. Men's high bar athletes not too far away from walking on to Hisense Arena. So men's high bar competitors and their qualifying about to be introduced. 8 men in the final. We've seen some of them already, including Jim of Hong Kong, Atakan of Turkey, Michael Masia of Australia, Seki Sato of Japan. Mitchell Morgans has recovered from the mishap on the parallel bars. Kenzo Shirai's a busy man. He's in the high bar as well. I mean, Onda we saw earlier as with Debbie Dyson of New Zealand. So they're the 8 men who will compete in the high bar. All 8 will go through to the final, so it's a matter of determining their placings for that final. Getting the opportunity to test the equipment here at Hisense Arena. Opening World Cup of the year. Warm-up opportunity now.
Each gymnast gets 1 touch on the apparatus as their warm-up here. So using that wisely to get a feel of the bar, get themselves warmed up and ready to compete.
Every athlete has a slightly different routine too in their warm-up, practicing a particular skill, or just, of course, there's a bar out the back, so it's not as though they haven't done any warm-up. There's got the opportunity to warm up just off to the side of the competition arena here.
They do, and some gymnasts may like to do just an easy feel of the bar, do some swings, while others like to perform maybe half their routine. So it just depends on the gymnast, what they're feeling.
There is a different feel to the apparatus on the podium as opposed to the warm-up area where it's secured to the ground. So sometimes there's a little bit of extra bounce.
Yes, absolutely. So that's where this opportunity is, just to get the feel of it, to get used to that different bounce the bar may have being on a podium.
Malcolm Messier of Australia going through his warm-up.
As Ali mentioned before, this is a really great opportunity for our Aussie gymnasts to have a chance to compete at a World Cup and not have to travel halfway around the world to do it. Always nice competing in front of the home crowd as well.
A lot of them will be off to the other side of the world. The next stop in Baku, Azerbaijan. It's a good time in this World Cup to get particularly for the Australian athletes, back into the routine. The Commonwealth Games will come up very quickly. April 2018, so just over a year away, and that will come around very swiftly. Of course, the Melbourne Commonwealth Games are in March. It was an early one, but normally we're used to a Commonwealth Games being in the middle of the year, or in 2010 in Delhi it was in October, so Glasgow was in June or July, I think, from memory.
Yep.
But April 2018 will come around very quickly for these athletes from the Commonwealth, Australia and New Zealand here, Malaysia. Sam's back from being downstairs. Raced up.
Yeah, I did take the lift. I didn't take the stairs. But it was good to be down there at ground level. There's a lot of noise. Lots of girls, not many guys, going ballistic for a new leotard. $75 voucher. That was good to give away.
How did you pick the winner?
I didn't. I think it was the cameraman.
Okay, so it was picked from the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like getting a new leotard.
Absolutely. It is a big thing though, isn't it, when you get your first club uniform or your first state uniform, Australian uniform. Com Games, Olympics, whatever it is, you know, it's you do feel that sense of pride, which, as you found talking to Ali, when it gets very patriotic, getting that American coloured leotard on. And I hope there is an Australian one out there for that young girl. If not, GK can create it. They can make one.
Well, it's difficult to represent your country no matter what country you're from, but it's an immense achievement. But to be an American gymnast, you'd have to think to make their Olympic team is just a phenomenal effort in itself, with the size of the population and how strong they've been in gymnastics over the years. When you look at Japan and China, the same. To be at the top of your game, to be able to represent your country, get to the games in the first place, let alone do it twice like Ali Raceman's done. That's an extraordinary achievement to go across 2 Olympic cycles.
Yeah, and on that topic, while you know, there's a man who I think needs to be mentioned in the talk of greatest athletes of all time from Japan, Kohei Uchimura, not here. I've been told apparently, hopefully he will be here at this event next year. Since the London, where he came second in the all-around, he's not been beaten at a World Championships or Olympic Games since. Yeah,
amazing, really, to go, you know, in a sport that has the propensity for injury and is so severe on the body, to have that sort of level of dominance is amazing. Jim Man Hin, first man up from Hong Kong on high bar. Bit of an AC/DC just to get him in the swing.
Absolutely. Beautiful Kovacs there, the double tuck over the bar. Catching again. And he's gone into the Russian Giants. Beautiful element that not seen too much nowadays. Everybody cringes at what that might do to your shoulders when you're on there. So just doing the stolder there to fulfill the in-bar requirement. Winding up for the dismount. And again, slightly unconventional, the double out over the bar.
So Jim Man Hin of Hong Kong, first man up, high bar. We've only got 8 here, so all of them will go through to the final on Saturday night. But it was a solid routine from the man from Hong Kong. For me, Sam, the high bar's one of the most interesting apparatus at the Olympics and World Championships, just because of the severity of the skills that the guys are throwing now. We've seen a couple here, but the releases and the speed of the routine, the difficulty for the dismount,
absolutely,
the whole package is just sensational.
Yeah, I think it has it all in terms of an apparatus, doesn't it? They've got all the in-bar work. The releases look so spectacular, and you've got to put yourself on a knife's edge. The judges will take deductions off you if you regrasp the bar with bent arms, so you've got to try and be just far enough away to do that well. It's always a real balancing act, but the spectacular nature of the horizontal bar is certainly brilliant, and it's always a great way to round out a competition.
So Jim's waiting for his score here, opening competitor in the men's qualifying. One Australian, Michael Machia, is third to go. We'll see Kenzo Shirai, again, Japanese medalist from Rio. Farhad Harakan, who was impressive parallel bars. Second spot he qualified behind Zhu of China. Shirai was third there.
Patiently waiting for the score here. As you can see, the gymnasts wearing what we call grips or guards on their hands. Just basically a big strip of leather, either reinforced, sometimes there's a bit of Kevlar material in between a couple of bits of leather that goes around your wrist and has a piece of kind of rubber doweling in it, which makes it easier to hold onto the bar, which means these guys and the girls that choose to wear them, not all of them do, allows them to do some of these huge elements that they can do. Without them, you'd just be hanging on with bare hands and isn't much fun at all. I'm just wondering whether this Japanese gymnast just behind is taking a quick nap before he goes.
That's being relaxed. Yusuke Sato, he's just visualisation, possibly. We're on the same time zone, so it can't be jet lag. Ferhat Atakan of Turkey next to go.
And starting with a common start, the Yamawaki. Catching with nice outstretched arms there. Into the next release move. Straight body to Kachev. Most of these names, or most of the names for these skills, he's just overcooked that one there. Most of these skills named after the people that did them first. So that's why you'll hear us say some strange names for some of these elements. So just see a replay of that. The Stolder to Kachev. Just missing the bar there. The crowd always cringes when things like that happen. The mats are fairly soft and we're used to falling on them all the time, so not unusual. So taking his full allocation of 30 seconds here, Atakan, before he gets back up. Interesting to see whether he repeats that element, because he didn't catch the bar, the judges won't give him the value for that element. Seems he's chosen not to, with just the straddle to Kachev there. Some of his in-bar work and the hop full turn. Long routine here. Atakan winding up into his dismount now. Double layout with full turn. Sticking the landing, so a good finish. Unfortunately, a fall in the middle there, though, will keep him further down the ranks.
Let's take a look at the score for Jim Man Hin of Hong Kong, who was the opening competitor in this high bar qualifying. So 11.866.
You'll see there that there's a difficulty and execution score. The difficulty is the cumulative 10 scores that are given a value. And that obviously you want that score to be as high as possible. And the execution starts from 10.0. And then with different errors through the routine, the judges will take value from that 10 score. And obviously the final score is just the difficulty and the execution combined. So a slightly difficult system for people to get their heads around. Not the old perfect 10 with Nadia Comaneci. We've moved on from that a while ago now. So you're hoping for an execution score of 8.5 or above is probably considered quite good. And in terms of world-class standard, you're hoping for a difficulty score in the 5s and above, probably. Going through some of his errors with the coach there.
So Atakan doing the same. Qualified second, parallel bars, also qualified for the final of event yesterday. That was the floor, where he was in 5th spot. Shirai, the leading qualifier in that one. Looking forward to seeing Christian Berkey in action tomorrow in the pommel final. He looked fantastic yesterday in qualifying. Here's Michael Machia now up from Australia on high bar.
Again, starting with the Yamawaki. Clean start. Work his way into another release here.
Ooh, that's a belly whacker. That always looks more painful than it possibly is, but still not a nice experience.
It's not.
You talked about it before when the outstretched arms on the release and the catch there, and if you just misjudge it, that's what happens. There's gravity wins every time.
Gravity always wins. Yeah. Unfortunately, Michael just overcooking that one as well. You need to come out of that shoulder circle quite early so that you can throw yourself straight in the air rather than too far backwards, and unfortunately missing that one there. So Michael was the second reserve in the all-around event for Rio. Unfortunately not able to get himself into one of the qualifying spots there, but you mentioned the Commonwealth Games, 405 days away is that, so he's a bit of time to work on this high bar routine, and the rest. He's picked himself up off, literally off the floor well here. So clean second half of the routine for Michael, just winding up into the dismount, double layout with double twists. Decent size hop on the landing, so a few things to work on there. As has been consistently the case today, 8 people in this qualifying field, so all 8 should make it through to the final. We'll be able to have a second go at it in front of a packed house on Saturday night.
There's Khan, 12.000 for his routine. See the difficulty you're talking about, Sam, up in the 5s, execution 7, because he came down early in his routine. He's going to have a busy couple of nights with 3 finals in store, 4 now. Count this one.
Absolutely. Nicely split up for them over 2 days of competition, though, so they can concentrate on a couple at a time.
And are they out here in the morning training as well, or do they just come in the afternoon for the finals?
No, absolutely. They'll be here in the morning. You have a bit of a stretch and sometimes get on the equipment just to familiarise yourself with it again. And try and keep your competition day as normal to as close to a training day as you can. And they'll only spend about an hour or an hour and a half in here.
This has been a consistent thing with Furhat. The hair's very important.
Yeah,
very important.
No doubt. It's obviously not just about competing well, but looking good. And he's giving that a go.
Yep. No, not bothering with the shirt either, which is pleasing plenty.
When there's a camera around.
So 12.00. Currently leading. Haven't got the score for Michael Machia. Here's Yusuke Sato, who's finished his visualisation or napping, whichever one it was, and is now ready for his high bar routine.
Japanese normally very, very adept at this apparatus, so we'll see what Sato can do. And winding up, you'll see a couple of Kovacs skills, I believe. The Coleman straight, directly connected into the Kovacs. It's a very difficult combination. Well, if he was napping, he's come out of that very well. 4 release skills, 2 pairs of 2 connected is going to build him way up into the difficulty score. Another connection there, the stoop full turn to Yamawaki. Jam-packed full of skills here. Sato winding up for the dismount, just going slightly easier with that, double out with full turn.
But that was a strong routine, wasn't it, for Sato? And, well, not that the previous 3 weren't of high quality, but when you see a world-class high bar routine that's got all the tricks, it's so exciting. And Sato was just straight into it with the multiple releases, and he was busy on the bar, and it's a whirling, twirling machine.
Absolutely. It's as we were saying, already very hard to judge exactly where you're going to catch one release skill, but to then connect it directly to another is ultimate control. So a very impressive showing from Sato. You can see that line of judges all ready to take some deductions off of your score at any moment you show any weakness. Beautiful angle from the side there, just showing his release moves again. Very difficult to catch that second one in what we call the reverse grip. So definitely be the leader of the high bar competition currently. The score will come through soon, I'm sure. You would think that he'll potentially put an extra twist into that dismount to up that value. I think you get through a hard routine like that on a qualifying day with only 8 people and just want to get off and get it done and perhaps go and finish that nap.
Well, he's cool, that's for sure. Not as worried about his hair either as Furhat Atakan was. There's Michael Chia, 12.003 is the score for him, and the score for Sato's up already at 14.366. So no surprise there. And the 6.7 difficulty was jam-packed full of tricks, and the execution score not bad as well. So 14.366 and Machia 12.003.
Yeah, so still some room to move for Sato. He can bump that execution score up. A lot of those turning elements have to finish in handstand or as close to. So he's got room to move, but the best guys in the world are probably doing a difficulty score of between, say, 7.1 and 7.5. So he's not far off of that. And he's got 4 years to work on it until an Olympic Games in his home country.
Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? The Japanese gymnastics, it'll be a hot ticket item. There's no doubt about that in terms of the games and what's on there. Mitchell Morgan's from Australia up next and on his way.
And waiting for this routine. He can hopefully connect a couple of release skills as well. He may save that for the final, but we'll see what he's got. Stoop half, winding up for another release. Tucked Kovacs, beautifully opened out. Looks like he's got one more in him. The Coleman, so the Kovacs with a full turn. Oh, don't you go the other way. That's a coach killer, that one. Doing an endo and going back the opposite direction, so he's... He's had a couple of interesting mistakes today, Mr. Morgans.
Well, that one was potentially...
Yeah, so that stoop through hopefully goes up into handstand and obviously makes it a lot easier for you to swing and get over in what we call an inverted giant. Just didn't have enough pepper, so to speak. And that bar is not soft when you hit it with your back.
So need to regroup though, Mitchell Morgans. Complete this routine here.
And one of the big things is making sure that if you have a fall, that it's the only mistake you make. You don't want to have... And he's performed that stoop through beautifully now. So just the dismount to go. A double twisting, double layout.
Now this is one of the benefits of having the World Cup here, and for Mitchell Morgans, the young Australian, goes off the back of Yusuke Sato's big trick routine, and you sometimes see them and get a bit carried away and get a bit ahead of yourself, and that's all part of the learning experience for the young Australian team.
Absolutely. And the good thing with Mitchell's routine there was that he got through all the really hard stuff. That's what makes it more frustrating when you make an error like that, but he did get through the hard work. And I've got no doubt he'll be annoyed at himself. He'll be a bit embarrassed about that mistake that he made. But he'll be all the better for the run, and he'll feel pretty confident going into Saturday, I think. Those are the kind of mistakes that you don't make twice. Got a beautiful line and shape through the air and all of his skills, Mitchell, so always looks pleasing to the crowd and to the judges. His coach Sergei Chinka there, congratulating him and just checking on him, making sure he was okay.
So Michael Machia, the Australian, 12.003. Currently in second place, just ahead of Farhat Atakan's 12.000. Sato of Japan leads 14.366. So we wait for the score for Mitchell Morgan's. It's going to be just under the 12.11.833. That's the score for Mitchell Morgan's. All 8 going through to the final, though, and with that tumble, he's got a fair bit of upside for his routine for the final on Saturday night. And here's one of the busiest men at this World Cup, Kenzo Shirai of Japan.
Absolutely. I think he just clipped his foot on the way through there. I heard through our microphones. Swoop through into the Jaeger full turn, that one's called. And the fall onto the face was not part of the plan.
He's always smiling, though, Shirai. Nothing seems to worry him too much.
He certainly seems an interesting character. So the stoop through, and you see he changes that downswing a little bit. Hard release, that one, because you can't bring yourself too close to the bar because you've got to miss your feet, but then you've also got to grab it with your hands.
At what point do you realise that you're not actually going to make it?
About there.
That late?
It is really late, yeah, because you reach out and you stretch. There's a couple of beautiful videos of people kind of grabbing with fingertips, so you can get them. That's the Kovacs. It wouldn't be a routine from Shirai without some twisting. A double A with triple twist to finish as a dismount. So the Japanese gymnast there leaving the door open.
He's going to be the favourite for
competitors.
Yeah, he's going to be the favourite for the floor gold medal tomorrow night. #1 qualifier there.
World champion in 2015. So he's very impressive on the floor, but he's impressive everywhere. Just a couple of an uncharacteristic fall for him today. But again, early in the Olympic cycle. Some of these routines may be new. He may have some new skills in them that he's trying to work on. So you can see building up for a big dismount there. You almost think he's not going to get that twist in, and then around it goes. Coach was happy enough with that one. And that's the great thing about this World Cup, is there's an opportunity for lots of our Australian athletes to train and compete with and against these guys. But the more of them we get in finals, the better. That gives them a lot of experience in terms of dealing with the pressures of finals at a World Cup level. So that all starts tomorrow. It's going to be great.
And also exposure to the international judges as well, which, as the years progress towards the Olympics, you need to be recognised as a regular finalist, and sometimes the judges pigeonhole you in a particular spot. You're a finalist or you're a medalist. The championship helps a little bit. The floor and the pommel final. Only just snuck into the pommel final in 8th spot, but qualified in 4th spot on floor. Also in the parallel bars, and did the vault as well. So he's going to have a busy program over the next couple of days. This is where we're sitting at the moment. Sato's 14.366 ahead of Shirai, then Machia, Arakan, Jim and Morgans, with just Debbie Dyson to come. Honda's score on its way.
So the Japanese leading by example there. And then the rest of the field all with falls, if I'm not mistaken. So plenty of room to catch them. Even Shirai had his fall. So it's the nature of the horizontal bar. It's boom or bust half the time. So really putting yourself out there to try and successfully complete those routines, and falls are common. So Debbie Dyson will be up fairly shortly once the judges have got through their jobs to finish off the last of the qualifying events for this 2017 World Cup.
Final competitor on high bar, representing New Zealand, Debbie Dyson.
Full turn, and a beautiful way to finish the qualifying stages of this 2017 World Cup. Debbie Dyson with a stuck dismount. And should be fairly happy with that routine. She'll be lower in the difficulty than some of the top guys, but you can only do what you can do well. He's put on a good performance with that horizontal bar routine for New Zealand. So the Zulu men have to do at least 3/4 of the turn before hanging on the one arm and coming back up in the opposite direction and catching the bar. Another view of that Zulu men. Show the winding up into the dismount. Pardon me, spotting that landing beautifully. Not giving the judges too much work to do at all. So just waiting on his score now and get the final rundown.
So here's a recap of what we're going to see over the next couple of nights. The men's vault with Shirai, the leading qualifier, ahead of Onda and Tanagawa. Remkes of Australia, along with Clay Stevens. Arakan in a number of finals. So that was the men's vault from earlier tonight, with Kenzo Shirai of Japan, the leading qualifier. That final on Saturday night. Women's beam. Two Chinese competitors, Liu and Liu, heading up the qualifiers ahead of the Olympic champion Sanne Weavers of the Netherlands. Emma Nedov, the top Australian qualifier, in 4th spot for the beam final, which will be held on Saturday night. So Liu and Liu, tough to beat there, ahead of Weavers, who's got a bit to show still, you would think. Men's parallel bars, Zhu of China, well, he was most impressive indeed. Up ahead of Atakan and then Shirai. Dyson, Stevens and Morgans, the two Australians at the bottom, have got some improvement, no doubt. But the top three there, world class, Zhu, Atakan and Shirai in the men's parallel bars. Women's floor, well, Wang was impressive, and the top two Chinese again. Emily Little in third place. Georgia Godwin of Australia also in sixth in the women's floor. All of these events on Saturday night. Tomorrow night we've got men's floor, pommel and rings, women's vault and uneven bars, men's high bar. So results now finalised with Sato and Dyson. Good score from him. Onto Shirai, Chia, Atakan, Jim and Morgans. All some improvement having falls. But Sato, the top qualifier in the men's high bar. So looking forward to tomorrow night. Sam and Manette. Men's floor, pommel and rings, women's vault and uneven bars. Bit to look forward to.
Absolutely, there is. We've already seen some very high standard of competition in the qualifying events, and as we said earlier, the pressure of finals can do some amazing things, and if you're in that final, you're in with a chance. And I can't wait to see what will happen over the next two nights.
Yeah, and Manette, Emily Little, one to watch in the women's vault in particular.
Absolutely, she's leading the pack. She's currently first for these World Cup series, so she wants to hold on to that title and will be performing and showing some great skills along with the other competitors. It's a strong field, so lots of competition. So
2 nights of finals. Hope you can join us as we open up the World Cup for 2017 with the finals tomorrow night and Saturday. On behalf of Sam Moffat and Manette Russo, it's David Colbert bidding you farewell from Hisense Arena.